LAPD officers on the ground right now after this at the UCLA campus, where violence broke out overnight between pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli protesters. It got violent. Students were injured, many at area hospitals this morning. We will update you on their conditions and how many have been arrested. LA Mayor Karen Bass calling these actions inexcusable. Governor Gavin Newsom also monitoring, he says, the situation closely. We have team coverage from Westwood all morning long with our Logan Hall and Taylor Schaub. Let's go first to Logan, where things look much calmer this morning, but not so when you arrived in the wee hours, Logan. Tell us what you saw and experienced.
Yeah, Giselle, that's right. It looks very different than the scene did when I arrived here about 2:15 this morning. When I got here, there were still some violent clashes breaking out between protesters and counter-protesters. Of course, law enforcement did arrive on the scene and had full riot gear. It was a number of agencies we've seen so far this morning. The LAPD out here, LA County Sheriffs, California Highway Patrol, and UC Police all working to keep the peace here, and they've successfully done so throughout the course of the morning. Overnight, when things did get violent, they worked very hard to set up barricades and separate protesters and counter-protesters. And if you take a look behind me, what you'll see throughout the course of this campus is that it has mainly been cleared out. Law enforcement has been working very hard to keep this area of the campus calm and collected after last night's events. And what you can see is that encampment is still standing. I had the chance to talk to several students in that encampment, and they tell me that they have no plans of leaving. They have sent those who have been severely injured to emergency rooms across Los Angeles. I also had the chance to talk to some law enforcement members. I talked to members of the California Highway Patrol who tell me that they are working to bring as many officers here as possible. They also say that they are working hand in hand with the LAPD and with UCLA. UCLA has declared this an unlawful assembly. However, the LAPD and other law enforcement agencies have not done so yet. Something interesting that we have seen over the course of this morning is members of these different agencies walking the perimeter of the encampment, doing their best to film and assess the situation to the best of their ability. They tell me that they are having active discussions at this moment about whether or not they're going to declare this an unlawful assembly, but at this moment they have no plans to do so, Giselle.
But the campus administration has already deemed it an unlawful encampment. So whose decision then will it be? They are obviously communicating amongst themselves. But the student protesters and the encampment, as you well know, are blaming police for not doing enough.
Exactly, Giselle. That's something that we've heard from members of the encampment and from counter-protesters, saying that they really don't feel like they're getting that support from law enforcement or from the university. Now, the LAPD is taking the lead on this situation, and they are actively working with UCLA, who is calling on them to declare this an unlawful assembly. Now, I had the chance to talk to a student who's not on either side, but saw all of these events happening on Twitter and decided to come here and to see all of this unfold in front of his very eyes. And he described those exact scenes that you were talking about, chaotic and often violent encounters between protesters and counter-protesters, even describing this as a war zone. Take a listen.
There were some people carrying sticks, and they were throwing even at the wood bears at each other too, and they started throwing tables too at each other. Water balls been thrown out. Many people got pepper sprayed in the eyes too, and there have been moments where they hit each other with sticks too.
So, Giselle, those scenes overnight definitely violent and shocking. Some of those images that you've seen with those fireworks being fired off, pepper spray being shot at various members of the encampment. We've talked to several people from inside the encampment who tell us that they are dealing with severe injuries. One girl that we just spoke to showed us a large gash and bruise on her knee. And now from people that we've talked to inside of this encampment, various media liaisons, they tell us that they have no plans of leaving this encampment. They say they are still here and sticking to their mission. We've also talked to other members of the encampment who say that they are now terrified after the events that happened last night, many of them regretting their decision to be inside of this encampment and hoping that they can soon leave. Giselle, back to you.
All right, Logan Hall reporting for us on campus. Thank you so very much. Stick around. We'll be coming back to you throughout the morning. Let's check in now with Taylor Schaub, also on the UCLA campus, who was there during the most intense part of the clash overnight. Taylor, again, things are calm right now. Give us an assessment of the situation where you're standing.
Yeah, Giselle, absolutely. Things are calm right now, but you cannot undersell how chaotic it was. In fact, I actually just talked to somebody inside the encampment who said that it felt like what they imagined a terrorist attack would be like. Obviously, very charged words, but that gives you a mental picture of what it felt like for about 3 or 4 straight hours last night when they felt like they were being bombarded by the counter-protesters. Obviously, signs being ripped, people being shoved, the fireworks reportedly being shot over. I'm going to take a step out of the shot right now. We're going to kind of walk along the line here. You can see trash, debris everywhere. Hundreds of people coming out last night, both counter-protesters and then obviously students, community members that wanted to see what was going on because they saw the posts on social media. You can see the barricades up right now. The students who are in the encampment, they've have their own barricades, those big wooden planks that are trying to kind of hide what's going on and what they're experiencing inside this encampment, which they've been in since Thursday. But this scene here, again, Logan's mentioned it. We've said it. It was like a war zone last night. It's calm right now. Law enforcement has it under control, but they certainly didn't last night at about 2 a.m.
Today they actually took action, and it was terrifying. It was vicious. So many people got hurt, and we did not instigate it all. I know UCLA and the media is going to turn around and say that this conflict was two-sided. No, we were brutally attacked again and again and again, and all we did was try and hold our line and protect ourselves, and they continues to encroach.
That just gives you a little bit of the insight of what these students are feeling that are inside the encampment. Again, they've been here since last Thursday. They've experienced a lot. There was the counter-protest on Sunday that got out of control, but nothing like last night.
Right. The administrators, though, as you well know, last night deemed those encampments unlawful and warned students to disband, disperse, and they did not. Law enforcement, LAPD, has not deemed it unlawful, but the university campus has. The demands from the student, Taylor, are to divest from all Israeli companies and to invest in any weapons manufacturing companies. The UC Board of Regents has said this: the anti-Israel campaign would go nowhere. We're never going to divest. What are the students saying in response to that?
Every time I ask one of these students, it's like they just keep saying, divest, divest, divest. They believe so strongly in their mission, their goal here, that there's not really the counter argument on the other side other than this is what they stand for, and they are willing to sit out here and endure this until the university and the system meets their demands.
And have you talked to law enforcement on the ground there, the LAPD? Are they going to hold a news conference or give us any updates on the number of arrests, the number of injured, et cetera?
The last time we asked, which was just a few moments ago, we were still waiting for a public information officer to come out here just to be available for interviews. So we do not know when they're going to come. They said that they were planning on making one available. We don't have a time frame on that. There's a lot of questions, as you can imagine, that we have to try to understand what happened and what's going to happen in the next few hours and days.
Right. Meanwhile, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass coming back from her trip to Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. She condemned the violence, saying on X it was absolutely abhorrent and inexcusable. Governor Gavin Newsom also monitoring the situation closely. Taylor Schaub, thank you so much. Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. For more stories in your communities, click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV for the latest information, balanced coverage, weather updates every 10 minutes, and more. We'll see you then.